Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. Merry Christmas. I feel in a great mood this morning. I feel absolutely fantastic. Erik ten Hag has come out after the match last night and demanded that Manchester United buy a striker. We'll be talking about that. Fabrizio Romano has linked us to a striker that I think you'll be very excited about. Also, quite a few bits to talk about what Erik ten Hag said after the game. Obviously, we've got quite a lot of England players coming back now because they're out of the tournament. So lots to get involved in. I mean, look, you know what? If you're gutted about England going out the World Cup, I thought I would be. I actually feel like I feel liberated. I thought I would be more bothered than I am. I actually feel really good. It reminds me of like, I don't know whether you've been in this position, but years and years ago, I used to go out with this girl, and I didn't really want to go out with her anymore, and I didn't really know how to end it. So I just ended up being a bit moody for a couple of weeks, and then she dumped me, and I had to pretend that, oh, I can't believe you're breaking up with me, and then I was like straight down the pub. Drinks are on me. Get in. Who wants a game of pool? Get Oasis on. I'm back on the market. And that's how I feel this morning. I feel absolutely fantastic. I couldn't give a shit that England are out of the World Cup at all. Because I've been there. I've seen it. I mean, I tell you what, it's like fucking deja vu. 20 years ago, we got knocked out by Brazil in the quarterfinals with the golden generation, which was better than this team. And all you had was Lineker and everyone going, I'm telling you, we should be proud of this team. They're going places. They will win a trophy. I'm really proud of this team. Oh, they've got great attitude. We've got some brilliant young players. And then we bottled the next two. We're never going to win anything because we've got Prats in charge. The FA are clueless. Southgate's not the right man. And I tell you what, as a United fan, I could be furious this morning that with 10 minutes to go, he doesn't bring on our best player, Rashford. He brings Raheem Sterling on, who's not trained all week. He should be sacked for that. And people are waking up going, oh, I love Southgate, he's so great, I love him, he's a great guy. He's fucking brought a player on with 10 minutes to go who's been off all week, back in England because of his house being burgled. You know, traumatic. Rashford's been at the tournament all tournament, your best player, you bring fucking Raheem Sterling on. Twat, get rid of him. But look, I'm not bothered, I'm in a good mood. Let's get on to United. So, Erik ten Hag, after the game yesterday, we did a watch along. We had to go quickly over to England. But look, the tour, he spoke about the tour. But the big thing that Erik ten Hag has said on this Spanish tour, and this is right from his mouth, and it's a public demand to sign players, is this. He said that we absolutely have to buy a striker, but it's got to be the right one. We're doing everything in our power, researching every opportunity to bring a striker in. And that's where we are. That's where we are with this. So forget me or anyone else saying, oh, we've got to go for Gakpo, we've got to buy a striker, this, that and the other. That's the manager of Manchester United publicly demanding a striker, which is fantastic news. I mean, it's absolutely fantastic because we've got to buy a striker. We all know we've got to buy a striker, and Erik ten Hag knows he's got to buy a striker. So him saying that publicly, of course, it puts the pressure where it needs to be, and it needs to be on the club. They've got to bring a striker in. I mean, it's not even an if, but, or maybe. It's a definite. It has to happen. Ronaldo has gone, and Martial and Rashford won't be good enough. And it was interesting when he was asked about Anthony Martial in the same quote. He said, well, the thing that Martial needs to focus on is staying fit. That's the thing he's got to take control of, and we'll support him, but he's got to stay fit. And again, I applaud Erik ten Hag. He's absolutely spot on, and I think we've got a manager there that's obsessed as much as we are. He's determined as much as we are, and he knows the problems as much as we do. And, you know, he's talking about the need to buy a striker in January, and he gets asked about Anthony Martial, and he comes out with the obvious answer, which is what we want to hear. Well, the most important thing for Anthony Martial is to stay fit. There's no point in saying, oh, Martial, he's a great player, he knows how to press from the front, he knows how to link up the play, he can score goals. All irrelevant if he's sat in the training in the physio room with Phil Jones playing Sudoku. There's no point. So absolutely brilliant by Erik ten Hag. And I think, you know, I thought this yesterday, I didn't say it, and I'm going to say it now. I loved Ralf Rangnick press conferences because he said things without saying them. He'd say it and the deeper meaning was obvious. And I thought what he said about Ronaldo yesterday, when we were talking about Ronaldo, and what he said about Ronaldo, ten Hag, is the master at passive aggressiveness. And what that is, you absolutely get your message across, but you do it with a smile. And I think he's brilliant at doing that. Some managers will, you know, vent and make it obvious. And, you know, I think he did bite back at Ronaldo, but he did it in a very passive aggressive way. And he's done it with this striker as well. He's basically said, I need a striker. We've got to get a striker. It's got to be the right striker. And if Martial's the answer, well, he doesn't even stay fit. So I think he's laid it down perfectly. And the big question is where we're gonna go from here. Look, you know what? I do feel liberated this morning as well, because I feel like this World Cup that I've almost been force-fed this World Cup. You've got to like it. It's the best World Cup ever. Chuck money at it. This is a great World Cup. It's amazing. It's amazing. And I've never. I know a lot of you have enjoyed it, and I respect that. And you know, I found it very weird. All I've wanted, and I make no apologies. It's not about the human rights. It's not about the politics. It's not about the greed. It's not about the corruption. If I'm absolutely honest, it's about the fact I just cannot stand the fact that we've got a World Cup in November and December. This is a time where, you know, your trees are up, there's Christmas parties, there's Christmas films on, you know, you've got your Christmas jumpers on. I don't want to be thinking about World Cup semi-finals. I want to be thinking about, oh, United are playing on Sunday afternoon when it's going to be dark and they're playing Everton at Goodison Park. Oh, I miss that. I miss that. And I want it back. And I can't, you know, Burnley in the Carabao Cup sounds shit. But the week before Christmas, Burnley in the Carabao Cup sounds absolutely superb. I'm so excited. I cannot wait. Way more than I can give a shit about France playing Morocco. You know, Burnley against Man United at Old Trafford the week before Christmas. Dark, the lights, bring it on. Merry Christmas. I just can't wait. You can't help who you are. You can't help who you are. And some people are going, you're weird. But I'm like, no, I cannot wait for that. I cannot wait for bloody Burnley Malps. I can't. I've missed it so much. And look, as soon as United come back and start losing, we'll all be moaning again. But you know, I think with England last night, I realised I'd love to see them win a World Cup. I'd love to see them win a Euros. But I'm faking it more than I ever have as an England fan. I mean, I am English. I want them to do well, but I don't care anywhere near, not even 50%. I've always said I'd rather United win the Premier League than England win the World Cup. I never would have said that 20 years ago. The older I get, the more disillusioned I become with England, and I'm glad it's over, to be honest. Thanks for all your hard work, Mark. 10 always honest on what he wants, and so I appreciate. Happy to have United back soon, says Daniel Luciano. Thank you very much. Oh, can I just say as well, I've pinned it to the top of the live chat. The link's in the description. Today is the last day to get one of these if you live in the UK. We can't guarantee it if you don't live in the UK. So today is the last day. There's a limited stock. They're not available in every size, but there are a few available. So check it out. Links in the description, or go through the live chat. Last day today. So if you want to get one, it's got a number 20 on the back. You can just about see it there. If you want to get one, you've got to get your order in today if you want it before Christmas. This is a knitted Christmas jumper. Absolutely fantastic. It's going to get quite a lot of wears on my Christmas do's over the next week or two. If you want to get one, today is the last day to get delivery before Christmas in the UK. Check that out. Should we get Weghorst on loan? Kevin, I don't want anyone from the World Cup. I've heard people talking about Rabiot. In fact, let's talk about what Erik ten Hag has said. So Erik ten Hag has said, yes, we need a striker in January. It must be the right one. We're doing everything in our power to get one. We're researching every opportunity. Now, that's positive, but it does worry me a little bit. The one that worries me the most is Memphis Depay. This terrifies me, because with every positive, there's a negative. With every penalty, there's a ball that gets skied over the bar. You know, a positive doesn't always end in a positive, and we want a striker doesn't always end up with the striker we want. As I say, a penalty doesn't always end up with it going in the back of the net, as England fans realised last night. So, look, my big concern is Memphis Depay. He's Dutch, and we know we like Dutch things. He's free, and we know we like free things. And that's the two things, really, isn't it? Let's be honest. That's the two things that could attract Manchester United. But look, I don't trust the World Cup. I don't trust the World Cup. I do not trust the World Cup. I do not think you're going to go out and buy a load of Moroccans to be good defenders in the Premier League. It doesn't work like that. You know, Kovacic is a brilliant player, but doesn't always start for Chelsea. International football is very, very different. It's very, very different. And I personally do not want Memphis Depay at Manchester United. I think it would be a huge mistake. I don't think he even did that well in the World Cup. You know, if you're scouting off the World Cup, but I feel that Man United might go for him, because the Manchester Evening News were talking about these Ten Hag comments, and they said that United are reluctant to go for an Ighalo type loan because that's not worked in the past, but they are stressing that finances are tight. Now, I believe that it's very obvious who Erik ten Hag wants. And, now that the World Cup is dying down a little bit, I can actually start to get my WhatsApp answered, hopefully. And I'm going to send them around again today because people have just been so living up the arse of this World Cup on the gravy train that they won't reply about Man United. But I think they will start to now because the bubble's burst, hasn't it, on the World Cup. So I'm going to make a few inquiries today. But my theory is this. Erik ten Hag wanted João Felix in August and Atletico Madrid said no. He was looking at Gakpo, but United said no because Ronaldo was staying. Ronaldo's gone. João Felix is for sale. I think it's very obvious that Erik ten Hag wants Cody Gakpo or João Felix in January, and both of them are available. So I can't put this on Ten Hag because I think it's very obvious who he wants, and I think most of you would be happy if we went for Gakpo or João Felix. Let the debate rage. But I think Man United will be going, there's Memphis Depay for you. He's free. And that's what worries me because then I just won't believe it. I won't believe it if Erik ten Hag unveils Memphis Depay in January and goes, this is the player I wanted. I think it's bollocks. I really do. And, I'll back Memphis Depay and I'll back this manager, as we all will, but I won't believe that. And I think it'll be obviously, hopefully we're going to get new owners very, very soon, but it would be the normal cycle under the Glazers. You back a manager at the start, and then basically straight after the first summer, you start to remove that backing for fourth and fifth choices. And there's no way that Memphis Depay is Erik ten Hag's first, second, third, probably fourth, maybe fifth choice as a striker. But we could still end up getting him because it's January and he's cheap. I think it's a bad deal for Manchester United. The noises coming out United yet again are the same. Finances are restricted because of the money we spent in the summer. And can I just say as well, that is the biggest load of crap excuse there is. That we don't have a lot of money to spend in January because what have we spent in the summer? Can somebody just come in? Who are you? I'm the voice of reason. Can we hear from the voice of reason? The chat says yes, voice of reason. What have you got to say? Well, Mark, at the end of the day, I think it's wrong for Manchester United to put stories out there about restricted finances when those finances are restricted because they don't know their arse from their elbow. And what I mean by that is, Manchester United paid £30 million more for Anthony than any competent club would have done. They also paid £15 million more for Martinez than most clubs would have done. They would have therefore had another £40 million to spend in this January transfer window. Thanks to the voice of reason. Have a good day. It's Slippy out. And that's true. You cannot put an excuse out there that United have got restricted finances in January when they're restricted because we restricted them ourselves. We need about £40 million to buy Gakpo. We overpaid for Anthony by 30, easily. £55 million player for 85 million. So we restricted the finances because we were shit at transfers. So we can only blame ourselves, really, when it comes to that. But people fall for the crap. It's called spin. Politicians are brilliant at it, and United have been quite good at it over the last few years. You basically cause a problem, leave a bit of time, and then tell a different story, and people go, oh yeah, but you need to go back to the source. We have got restricted budgets, but that's because we overpaid, and I'm very happy with Anthony. I'm very, very happy with Martinez, but we did overpay on both of them. And overpaying on them cost us getting Gakpo. I mean, I was talking to somebody about a month ago, and they said Gakpo should be a Man United player already. He was available for 25 million, and he wanted to come, and United didn't do the deal. And I was like, I had a sharp intake of breath, and they were like, no, Manchester United could have got Gakpo for 25 million. Leeds and Southampton were humming and ahhing about it and didn't do it. PSV would have took 25 million in August. United were talking to him, and they didn't do the deal. And they didn't do the deal because Man United said there's no money left. Ten Hag wanted Gakpo and Anthony. They're very different types of players. Some idiots think that it was either or, but that you don't know football if you think that because they're very different players. And we couldn't buy Gakpo because we didn't have the 25 million because we spent 30 million too much on Anthony. So when you put it like that, that's terrifying. We overpaid for Anthony by 30 million and that cost us getting Gakpo for, well, let's say 25. All right. let's even say 30. The money was there, but we overspent on Anthony. So, whatever. If we ever get Gakpo, we'll overpay, but we could have got him for a lot cheaper in August. Beggars can't be choosers, said the Manchester United board, says Pat. Also, you've got to bear in mind that there are potential new owners coming into the club as well. So restricted finances is the biggest load of bollocks when you're selling a club. I can't sit here if I'm selling my pub, which I don't own. If I'm selling my pub and somebody wants to buy my pub, and they're going to buy it in March, and Christmas is coming, and I'm closing the bar because I can't be asked to buy any beer, then the new owners are going to say, well, why would we buy this club when you're running it into the ground? Buy the fucking beer and we'll give you a fair price. And that's a really good analogy, and it's true. And I think this whole bollocks about United aren't going to spend in January because we've got restricted finances. The club's up for fucking sale. Come on. Like, the club's up for sale, and, it's in your interest, if you're up for sale, to service the club. And buying a striker in January isn't just a need, it's a necessity. And that necessity could help us get Champions League football, which makes that football club even more valuable. And that's exactly why, if I'm selling my pub, I don't not buy beer over the Christmas period because I haven't really got enough money for it. I buy the beer knowing in March I'm getting loads of profit for selling it. So I keep the pub running, speculate to accumulate, basically. It's what a salesperson does. When a salesman's struggling, they'll borrow money to get a nice car to make it look like they're a successful salesman. They're not going to get go on their bike, are they? It's all about perception. So on a safe business model, United should be buying anyway in January to show that the club's in a good position to any prospective buyers and maintain that position. So, look, if we're thinking about Memphis Depay or a freebie, fucking disgusting, basically. But look, we'll see what happens. Anything is possible. We've not actually sold the club yet, have we? I'm not interested in England or Ronaldo because I'm not an England fan, and Ronaldo doesn't play for United anymore. So I don't know why people are talking about that. Glazers have made billions. Why aren't they spending? Says Ricky. Well, the club's up for sale, mate, of course. Just one thing on strikers that you might be interested in as well. Fabrizio Romano, I think, in an article has said that Manchester United have sent scouts to look at Ramos of Benfica. Now, that will get some people quite excited. I think we've got Fabrizio on the show tomorrow, so we'll clarify what that's all about. But, of course, Ramos of Benfica scores a hat-trick against Switzerland and then goes missing in the game against Morocco. I mean, this is exactly why you don't scout people from the World Cup. And I was laughing. I'll admit, I was ridiculing some so-called experts who were doing articles and videos on we need to sign Ramos. And plenty of people were doing it on social media, and maybe some of you were doing it. But this is exactly why you don't scout someone off a World Club. He's done quite well for Benfica in domestic football, but he scores a hat-trick in a game against Switzerland, and let's go and buy him. I tell you what, if I'd had £100 million on Thursday and I'd said to you, should we buy Ramos? I reckon the poll would have been around 70%. And that's terrifying. Like, absolutely terrifying, because he was shit yesterday. So, look, we can scout Ramos. We scout a lot of people. We were scouting that Endrick for Brazil. We scout a lot of people, but that Ramos, no, I wouldn't go anywhere near him. United scout hundreds of players all the time, but his release clause is £100 million, and he ain't nowhere near a £100 million player yet. And I said about Ramos, maybe he'll be a United player at some point, but nowhere near for the next 18 months. He's got to do it at Benfica for the next 18 months before you go anywhere near him. And if that means you pay a little bit more money, you pay a little bit more money, but you don't pay big money now based on what's going on. The fact that people were doing videos and shit about we need to go and buy Ramos because they watched him for the first time play against Switzerland is hilarious. But it happens in the World Cup a lot, of course, and that's just the way it can be. Should we sign Harry Kane, says Graham? Well, I do think that Harry Kane will be an option in the summer. I mean, it's only a theory, but I think that Harry Kane is got 1 year left on his contract in the summer. He's just bottled another World Cup, like most of the England players have. Let's be honest, that the chance of a trophy for Harry Kane has disappeared again. I don't blame him for missing the penalty. Just like I didn't blame Saka, Rashford, and Sancho in the Euros. It's a collective thing, and I think I blame the manager. I think he's just not good enough. But Harry Kane's desperation to win a trophy is going to become more and more the older he gets. Unfortunately, the older he gets, the worse he'll become. It's a traditional Man United signing to pay £90 million for Harry Kane when he's 30, and then we'll get the shit years. We did it with Sanchez, and we'll do it with Harry Kane. It's a hunch, it's a theory. I think we will sign Harry Kane in the summer, but I think it'd be a big mistake. I've said it time and time again about Harry Kane. I mean, he's a fantastic player, but I just don't think teams with him in it create enough chances because he wants to be a creator, and he's not quick. There was a chance in the first half yesterday where I think Declan Rice, who I thought was fantastic, made a really good tackle, slipped it through to Kane, and the centre-backs were split. And if he'd knocked it and had a bit of pace, he would have been through on goal. But Upamecano and Varane have caught him before he even starts running. He's just not mobile enough for me. He's a good link-up play striker, but you need people running off him. And if you haven't got that, I don't think he wants to be a penalty box striker anymore. I think he wants to be a link-up striker. And it's a very expensive risk to buy a link-up striker for 80, 90 million when they're 30. But I wouldn't be surprised if we did it because I think he wants to stay and break the Premier League goal record. If we are basing our scouting on who scores in the World Cup, then we might as well go for Valencia. Silliness, right? Says, oh man, look. People love the World Cup. They love the Euros. I get it. It's a bubble. You jump in the bubble and you're in the bubble and you consume the air in the bubble and it gets you giddy. You know, it's the way it is. But when that bubble pops, you realise what it was. It was a unique little in-a-box thing that's got no relevance to domestic football. Just enjoy international football for what it is if you want to enjoy it. I'd rather paint the fence than watch World Cup qualifiers or Euros qualifiers, but the tournaments are worth watching because there's nothing else to watch and it can get quite exciting. But there's absolutely no correlation between playing well in a World Cup and playing well in domestic football. In fact, there's many players in this World Cup who, and it's happened in many other tournaments where they play really, really well for their country and you think, look at Ziyech for Morocco. Very inconsistent for Chelsea. Superstar for them. Would you go and spend 40 million on Ziyech if he was 25? I mean, Ziyech, there's a prime example. It's only because we know Ziyech and he's nearly 30 that people are going, well, he's not been good for Chelsea. Imagine Ziyech was 22. Up and coming. He'd be going for 100 million. And that's the danger, isn't it? James Rodriguez did it in 2014. You can be this breakout World Cup player, and actually, in reality, you're quite inconsistent because domestic football is a lot harder than international football. Off topic, imagine Marcus Bielsa as England coach. His attacking style, says Red Smith. Well, yeah. Southgate needs to go, doesn't he? Anyway, back to Manchester United. Of course, Harry Maguire, Luke Shaw, Marcus Rashford, back now. We've had a good couple of days. Those quarterfinals, from a United point of view, if you don't like England, Portugal, Brazil, in the Netherlands, you've had a really good weekend. If you can't stand international football and you love Man United, you've had a great weekend. Bruno Delot back, Casemiro, Fred, Anthony back, Malacia back, Luke Shaw, Maguire and Rashford back. 9 players back in the space of 2 days when we could have had 2. It could have been like Varane could have gone out and Portugal could have gone through, so we could have just had Varane and Malacia. So it's gone really well. And obviously if Brazil beat Croatia, there's no Croatian players for us. So we could have had 2 players back from the quarterfinals. We've had 9. So from Man United's point of view, really, really positive. And as much as Ten Hag would want his players to do well, I'll tell you what, deep down he'll be grinning. I thought that last night, just as I was getting into bed. I thought Ten Hag will be happy deep down. There's no benefit for Ten Hag for his players going to the World Cup final. Not that many. There is the mentality king. If you win the World Cup, you believe more and everything like that. But, I think Rashford coming back is a good thing. Underused by Southgate, in good form. I think that benefits England. Maguire and Shaw, well, Maguire's going to have to start a few games with Varane and Martinez going deep into the World Cup. Maguire's Maguire. He'll do okay with Lindelof. Luke Shaw's our first choice left back, but Rashford being back is really positive. Anthony back as well. So we've got a front 3 now. Martial, Rashford, Anthony. They need to start building a future. And then we've got a midfield 3 of Bruno, Eriksson and Casemiro. So for me, I can live with Maguire and Lindelof at centre-back while Martinez and Varane do okay because the front 6 is really good. And you know what, as well, I want to say as well, Delot's injury, we'll have to wait and see what happens with that because it could be a hamstring injury. But I actually thought that Wan-Bissaka did okay yesterday. I thought Garnacho was decent again. Iqbal was decent again. Martial was okay, Lindelof was okay, Delo was okay, and Wan-Bissaka was okay. I thought Williams was crap, McTominay was crap, and somebody else was crap, and I can't remember. Elanga. I thought they were crap, them three, again. But I thought Wan-Bissaka did okay, and obviously De Gea, Lindelof, Garnacho, Iqbal, and Martial. I don't talk about the youngsters because it's irrelevant. You know, you shouldn't be overhyping them, and you shouldn't be saying they're crap anyway. And I thought Bennett came on and done well again. Murray came on and did well again. But you know, the young players, we just need to nurture those. So I'm not going to start saying they were amazing or anything like that because there's no point. It's just good for them. But I think, you know, Wan-Bissaka did okay. Now, that could be good for two reasons. One, it means other clubs will look at him, which I think is what he wants anyway, because we want interest. Or two, maybe he'll play a bit of games. But I think this is positive that Wan-Bissaka did okay. I thought Williams, I don't know what's going on with Brandon Williams. I mean, he's just, you know, Erik ten Hag said after the game, these players need to step it up. Of course, Donny van der Beek, I mean, was meant to start, didn't start, must have had injury again. I mean, Donny van der Beek, I love Donny van der Beek. And I feel I've been very patient with Van der Beek, like most of you have. I mean, there's an anti-Donny van der Beek movement, which I find quite toxic. It's almost like a told you so stuff, which I don't agree with. I actually thought Ollie didn't use Van der Beek enough. And I thought Van der Beek played quite well when Ollie did use him and just didn't get enough game time. But since he's been playing as a number 10 under Ten Hag, I think he's got worse. I mean, I actually liked Van der Beek when we played him in the midfield too. I don't like him as a 10, it doesn't work. And now he's injured again. It's just like, fucking hell. I mean, I just don't see what... I mean, I hope there's a way back, but it doesn't look good for Donny, does it? But I think Donny van der Beek, Elanga, Brandon Williams... I mean, this has probably done them more harm than good, this break, to be honest with you. And McTominay's been really disappointing as well. Captained the team both games and been really bad. I don't know what. You'd think that McTominay with the captain's armband would actually inspire, but I think he's been really disappointing as well. I can't put my finger on that. There's no logic for that. I know people say about Bellingham, last night Declan Rice was unreal. He'll be the best CDM in the world and we need him. I actually, Sean Turner, I don't think he'll get enough credit, but I thought Declan Rice was brilliant last night. And, Griezmann's probably been one of the best players of the tournament. And I thought Declan Rice played really, really well. But, that's why he'll end up going to Chelsea, really. Just talking about defenders, I don't know whether you heard the Bayer Leverkusen boss come out speaking about Frimpong and said they're very relaxed about the Frimpong situation. They'd be surprised if people weren't looking at him, but he's under a big contract and they're very relaxed about him. The problem we've got is that with Delo potentially injured, we need to buy a right back, but we also need to buy a striker. And if United are pontificating about buying a striker, imagine what they're doing about buying a right back. So, look, if we were a competently run football club, like a Man City or a Chelsea, maybe even an Arsenal in this day, certainly a Newcastle as well, a club that's, focused on being successful. If I lay this plan out to you, right, Manchester United, you might have forgotten, we are not in the top four at the moment. Top four has got Newcastle in it. Chelsea and Liverpool are behind us. They're going to come hard, obviously. And we're about to go into a very relentless 3 games a week for 5 months. So there I paint a picture for you. You've got 2 teams behind you that will expect to get top 4 in Chelsea and Liverpool and will invest in January. You've got 4 teams above you. So you're 5th and you're sandwiched, basically. There's teams above you and there's teams coming at you from behind. You're about to play 3 games a week. You're going to play Thursday to Sunday for at least a month when you play Barcelona twice. Maybe if you get through that, even longer. You've got no right back and you've got no striker. What do you do as the owner of that football club? You go and buy a right back and a striker. That's what you do. That's what any competent owner does because we're not in a position of strength. We've got to play loads of games. We've got 2 decent teams behind us that are going to invest, and we've got 4 teams ahead of us already. So we're playing catch up, but there's clubs behind us as well. We don't have a decent right back if Delo is injured, and even if Delo's fit, that hamstring thing or scare shows you his vulnerability, and we need a striker. Any decent football club goes and buys a striker and a right back in January, and even then it might not be enough because you could have problems elsewhere. So we have to buy a right back and a striker the World Cup has probably deluded some people as to the reality. I would say take a bit of time today to look at our fixtures and look at the league. We're not in the top four. We're going to have to increase our win ratio to get in the top four, and we're going to be playing 3 games a week for 5 months. Therefore, we've got to invest in the chances to do that. And if we don't do that, I can see what I predicted and many other people predicted. Didn't want to predict it, but I didn't think we would get top 4. And Michael says the club is broke. Well, the club is broke, but it's also about to be bought. And we've been quite happy to take on debt in the past, and I just think that the sale of this football club terrifies me, because I do worry about if we're in so much debt and we're going to have a second year in a row not in the Champions League, and sponsors are trying to pull out. Who in their right mind is going to pay $6 billion for a club like that? You're asking, and needs to build a stadium. I mentioned the words Leeds in the past because Leeds got into huge financial problems and got relegated. Now, we're never going to get relegated, and I don't think we'll ever go bankrupt. But we are approaching that point where we desperately need saving. This football club needs saving, and that's a show for another day. But we do need saving. We're in huge debt. Sponsors want out. The stadium needs rebuilding, and the squad, whilst it's half decent in some areas, it's broken in others. Probably one of the only things we've got going for that team at the moment is the manager. Like, he is actually elite, I believe, but you've got to surround him with everything else. And we're going to have a very tough half end to the season. We're not like England that's got a great squad but a manager that's not that good. We're Manchester United that's got probably 9 really good players, and then a couple of players in the first team that you go, I don't know, and then a bench where you're going, I don't really know. We don't have massive depth. We don't have the best stadium anymore, and we are in a precarious position. And I think a right back and a striker is an absolute minimum. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. And we really need the sale of the club to move quicker, if I'm being honest with you, because I do think there's a big chance that we're going to end up with Memphis Depay. And look, I like Memphis Depay, but it's not the right signing when you've got people like Gakpo and João Felix available. And it's going to be very interesting to see what our rivals do as well, because Arsenal need a striker. I mean, if I'm an Arsenal fan or I'm an Arsenal owner, you're top of the league and your striker's out for 3 months. It's absolutely worth it spending 50 million on someone, because you're going to get Champions League football guaranteed, which is 50 million of revenue. Just go for it. So it'd be interesting to see what happens, whether United go for a cheap striker or not. Yeah, we'll see what happens. And but look, we've got the right guy in charge. I think the standards are good. Matty, welcome to the Members Club. Thank you very much for joining. News in Portuguese paper that Arsenal are in the race for João Felix. I don't think United have got the money to go for João Felix, Rafael, really. I think Gakpo's a push. I think Gakpo at 40 million is a push. I don't think we've got 80 million to go for João Felix, and that's a shame. It's a shame when you're not buying players because you can't afford it. And I don't think United can afford João Felix. I wish we could, but I don't think we can. Tonight, we've got an evening show on the show. I don't know whether to do it at 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock. I might do it at 7 o'clock because it's Sunday night. We'll see. It's a long time to wait till 8 o'clock, so I might do it at 7 o'clock tonight. Sunday night show. It's like, do you know the United Stand started off as one show a week? It's amazing to think the United Stand in its earliest content was one show a week at 8 o'clock on a Sunday. Yeah, so I love the Sunday night show, and it's nice to have it back because there's no World Cup matches tonight. So we'll be live again tonight at probably 7 o'clock. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Make sure you smash a like on video. And don't forget, these knitted fantastic Christmas jumpers, the last day you can get them if you live in the UK for delivery. So check it out. They're going fast. Commemorates 20 titles, 13 Prems and 7 old Division 1s. Number 20 on the back. You'll really stand out in this Christmas. Links in the description and it's in the live chat. Limited availability now. I don't know what sizes we've got, but check it out and get them while you can. Today's the last day you can get them, guaranteed delivered for Christmas, and these are knitted. They're the knitted ones we do, and they're fantastic. Take care everyone. The pie is a Zimmer frame now. We have already been there, says Troy. Thank you very much. Take care everyone. I'll speak to you in a bit. Merry Christmas.